Hey everybody, we've got our hands on Samsung's latest 8K Neo QLED TV. This is the Q990B. It is the top of the range, best of the best, and we've discovered a few of our favorite features about it. So we had a couple of hours in a hotel room with the Q990B. So we had a couple of different ways of filming it. One we did with the curtains open, and one we did with the curtains closed. That's why you'll probably see that the light looks a little different in some of our footage. The idea being is that this is a QLED TV and it's all about brightness, and it's great for Australian living rooms because of the sun coming in and because that bright panel helps punch through those sunny environments. So we wanted to see how it looked with the sun shining on it, and you kind of get a sense of the reflections on the screen as well as with the curtains pulled closed. So that's why things look a little different in some of our footage. So before we get too far ahead, let's just take a quick look at the Q990B range. So there's an 85-inch, 75-inch, and 65, with the 85 topping out at 11,999 Australian. The 75 is 7,999 and the 65 is 5,799. So those are RRP prices, so you might be able to find them cheaper in store. Well, we really love the picture quality of this television, and it's not surprising given that it's a top-of-the-range mini LED panel. So for those that don't know, mini LED is an advancement to LED TVs, and really it's about getting more control over where light is on the screen. Also, if you hear of a Samsung QLED TV that's called a Neo QLED TV, the Neo part means that it is a mini LED panel. So really what we're seeing here with this model is that we're seeing much better blacks and far better contrast than the 2021 model. And this is because they've used a few new technologies. For example, they've used a new 14-bit contrast panel, meaning that there's about 4 times as much detail and graduations, or I guess smooth roll-off of dark or light in the picture. It also uses something called shape adaptive light for dimming zones, which really just helps the TV find the edges of things so it knows where to stop lighting it and allow black to be as true as possible. So you can see here in some of the examples that the blacks look very much like an OLED screen. You see a lot of like bright objects in the middle here, and it really shows that there isn't any light leakage around, or what sometimes is called blooming, around the bright, colorful object on a black background. And this is kind of what OLED does really, really well, is it has these perfect blacks, meaning because there's no actual pixels turned on, and LED TVs can't do it that way. They have to kind of shutter the light in black areas. But with mini LED, it allows the backlights in those zones to be switched off, giving you a true black experience. But they need to be able to mask around the lighter areas really well, and that's been a problem in the past. So these new technologies are making a great difference. I'm really impressed with the black levels here. They look pretty amazing. You can see that there's no blooming, there's no streaking. So I think they've really stepped ahead with the 2022 model. So we checked out off-axis viewing. So that's when you're looking at the TV not from straight on, say you're on a couch that's a 45-degree angle. We found that the image stayed pretty bright and the colors were still quite saturated. There was a little bit of, I guess, dimming, but nowhere near older models where it would really dramatically dim when you looked at the TV off-axis on sort of sharper angles. So it's good to see that they've pretty much improved, I think, on what they've done in the past. As this is an 8K panel, you're not going to be watching a lot of 8K content. We did watch some from YouTube, which looked pretty impressive, but otherwise we looked at a lot of different other content. We were watching Formula One Drive to Survive, which is in 4K, but it does include lower quality footage. So it was interesting to see what that looked like. You can tell that it is lower quality. There is a bit of noise in the blacks on some of it, but overall we think that the TV does a pretty adequate job of making lower quality content look good on this 8K panel. The physical design of the TV, it's really attractive, but you can't really see much of it on the way it's kind of been mounted in the hotel room. There's also a bit of a black wall behind it too, so it doesn't really stand out. But basically, it's all screen. The bezels have become smaller. It's what Samsung calls the infinity screen. It's got a 0.8 millimeter thick bezel going all the way around it. I really do like this metallic perforated edging on it. I think it looks quite nice this way. The panel itself is about 15 millimeters thick. And also they've improved the One Connect box. It's now a slim One Connect box, which is a lot less fat than the older ones, which are actually getting quite big. And this is where you can plug in all of your external devices, connections, and they run from this box, just one single clear cable, as it's called, up to the back of the TV. So in terms of cable tidiness, you just have one cable going to the back of the TV, and then everything plugs into this One Connect box. So the 2022 Samsung TV models get Samsung's updated Smart Hub interface. And this has seen some changes, and I think the most notable thing is that the menu is now full screen. In the past, it used to be sort of a ribbon that went across maybe the bottom third of the screen, or maybe slightly more than that. And what I liked about that is that it allowed you to still be kind of connected to the content that you were watching while you were looking at the menus. Now you're kind of taken out of that, so you can't really see what's going on, what channel you're watching in the background. But it does, I guess, give you more space to have a look at all of the different types of content. They're all kind of put into the same place, so it doesn't matter what source it's coming from. You can see your Netflix stuff, or your Apple TV stuff, or your Disney Plus stuff, your free-to-air stuff, all in that sort of familiar menu, and you kind of scroll down or across to pick things that you want. So look, it's nice, it's tidy, it's decent, but I think I like the way the older one was personally before they've kind of taken over the full screen with this new Smart Hub. So for the gamers out there, there is the game bar, which is basically a settings overlay that pops up on the screen where you can make immediate changes to things like frame rate or screen responsiveness. I don't understand why you wouldn't want it to be the most responsive all the time, but you can make these settings or see what the settings are. And in terms of the features you can expect, I mean, there's some great stuff in there for adjusting gamma, fixing up your black levels, as well as variable refresh rate. Although I don't believe it's the all of the different flavors like the GeForce one. But anyway, it's certainly a great TV for gaming. There's some pretty cool modes where you can have an ultra wide gaming display that covers some of the screen. So if you've got a really, really wide game and you want to play it in its proper aspect ratio, you can do that too. So yeah, there's definitely some good features here. It's funny what stands out as important to people, but what we really liked is the multi-view feature. So this is basically picture-in-picture on steroids. And it's something I don't understand why we hadn't seen more of in the past, because a lot of the sources that we're watching on our televisions are from, from the internet or, different channels from apps. And I just don't understand why we couldn't have a bunch of them on screen at once. And now you can have up to 5 different sources. Like you could have a game, you could have a website, you could have Netflix, you could have another channel, you can have free to air, all playing at once, and you can select which one you want to hear the sound from. You can reconfigure it so it changes up the way things are displayed, so you can have certain things big, certain things small, obviously less than that, like there's a 4-screen or 3-screen setup. But I mean, for things like, for me, playing a video game and then being able to look up hints about that video game on YouTube at the same time without having to leave or use my phone is really nice. I'm sure people want to do some web browsing while looking up stuff while at the same time watching something. So I think this is a great option, and I really am happy to see it. And it's actually one of the things I was most excited about with this TV. So this TV has 2 things. It's got built-in speakers behind the panel, and that has something called Object Tracking Sound Pro. And what that does is it actually makes the speakers create a sensation that the sound is moving around the screen based on what object is making that sound. So if a helicopter flies across the screen, it actually sounds like the helicopter is the sound is coming from the top corner of the screen down to the bottom corner, depending on where the helicopter is. So it actually works pretty well. But what's new this year is all of the speakers, the array behind the panel now are proper Dolby Atmos supported, meaning that Dolby Atmos signals don't have to be interpreted to create an effect. They actually are the proper Atmos signals going to all of these speakers, which is a nice thing to see. Also, you've got Q Symphony 2.0, and this really allows the TV's speakers to then work in conjunction with a compatible Samsung soundbar simultaneously, and that really helps, again, broaden out that sound experience, plus the added Dolby Atmos support in the speakers themselves. Our sound setup in the hotel room also included a home theater soundbar, the Q990B, and this is really impressive. So it's got 11.1.4 channel true Dolby Atmos with DTS-X sound, and we had a couple of rear wireless speakers as well, and that really just tied everything together. These are up-firing, side-firing, and front-firing speakers. You can see that there's an array of speakers in the soundbar itself, and it really does put you right in the center of the action. And that added to the Q Symphony. As soon as we turned it on, whether we were watching a bit of sport, and it made you feel like you're in the arena. And then we watched some Marvel movies, and some of the scenes were just completely elevated by the sound experience. It really does account for far more of the experience than you might think. I mean, I think some people say that's like 70% of the experience or 60% of the experience. So having great sound is a real benefit to a TV like this one. So yeah, we were really impressed with that, and it all worked fairly well. We did find that when we're switching between sources, sometimes the surround sound didn't kick in, and there's no real visual indicator of when you've got Dolby Atmos enabled. It would be nice if there's a little box that popped up on the screen that told you were listening to Atmos, but we didn't really see any evidence of that. Oh yeah, last but not least, we have to mention the new smart remote. I love the fact that it's got a solar panel on the back, so it can charge itself up, never need to replace batteries on a remote again, never need to go digging under the couch or trying to find some spare batteries or take them from old remotes. And it can also apparently harvest power from Wi-Fi. And the Samsung reps I've talked to kind of downplay this because I don't think it adds a lot, but maybe it just helps consumption. It slows down the consumption of the batteries rather than adding a lot to it. So there's a lot of tech in this little remote, and just the only thing is you have to remember to place it upside down, on your coffee table when you're not using it, so at least gets a chance to charge from the light around it. And that it can charge from sunlight as well as from incandescent light too. Well, there you have it. Look, we are thankful to get our hands on this preview of Samsung's latest and greatest 8K Neo QLED television. And if you like what you see, please don't hesitate to give us a like or even subscribe so we can make more content for you soon.